zoning board to be open, adequate notice having been given pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act in the following manner. First, on January 15th, 2019, a copy of said notice was mailed to the Star Ledger and the Tri-Town News. Second, on January 15th, 2019, a copy of said notice was hand-delivered to the clerk of the Township of Howell. Third, on January 15th, 2019, said notice was posted in the office of the zoning board and on the bulletin board in the Howell Township Municipal Building, 4567 Route 9, Howell Township, New Jersey. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code and your safety, please be advised that this facility is designed with 2 emergency exits, which are on your right at the front and rear of the meeting room. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Township TV 77.
We have a roll call, please.
Yes, you may. Mr. Hughes?
Here.
Mr. Massa has been excused. Mr. Mertens?
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mr. Orozco?
Here.
Mr. San Clemente?
Here.
Mr. Saya, I have not heard from.
I just texted him to see.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Moretti?
Present.
And Chairman Nansen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Tropley, might you swearing in the professionals, please?
Ms. Beam and Mr. Howard have all been sworn for the evening.
Thank you, sir. Approval of minutes.
No minutes,
Vouchers,
no vouchers,
correspondence,
no correspondence,
resolutions.
no resolution.
Wow, we're battling, we're hitting 100 there, man. I wouldn't say 1,000 just yet.
I do have minutes that need to be done if somebody.
Applications before the board, case number BA 1017 SPA2, Townhomes at Eagle Oak LLC. Use variance, amended preliminary and final site plan. Application in Townhomes at Eagle Oaks LLC and Winsome Property Holdings LLC is applicant owner seeking a use variance and amended preliminary final major site plan approval to amend the existing approval to increase the number of townhomes from 28 to 34. Modified proposed townhomes buildings footprints to provide additional parking, additional utility connections for water, sewer, and additional site amenities such as asphalt driveways, concrete service walks, and rear patio decks on premises known as Block 218, lots 20.12 and 20.41 Cranberry Road. Expiration date, May 10th, 2019. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
You can sit.
Okay.
That's
There's
an
a
actual
microphone
mic,
in the middle of the table.
and
See it.
you can pull it closer to you.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Good evening. My name is Robert McGowan. I'm here representing the Townhomes at Eagle Oaks, which is the development entity. Winsome also has an ownership interest in the property that is for buildings 5 through 9. Both of those entities are controlled by the same individual. They were set up as separate entities for the purposes of financing. But Eagle Oaks is the primary developer and the lead on this matter. We have provided public notice for the meeting. I believe it's been reviewed and accepted just to establish jurisdiction.
That is correct. We've reviewed it. It is in proper order and jurisdiction is noted.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are applying, there is a couple of interpretations exactly as to what we're applying for. Essentially, we are applying for a D1 variance. We are applying for a use variance. We are looking to increase density, but in that we have never built anything, we are not looking to expand the pre-existing or previously approved use. We are still working on trying to get the approvals to be practical and functional for the development. So this is an amendment of our prior approvals. It is basically a D1 variance, although it's basically an expansion of density, and it is a residential use, so it's not incompatible with other residential uses, although the density is certainly more extreme.
Right. Now, were you the original counsel?
I was not. Todd Cohen
Right.
originally presented this, and our planner tonight, in fact, was the original planner on this back in 2011 and 12.
Correct.
And then I came along after Mr. Chung took over the projects after, some change in ownership and litigations and things that occurred in the intervening years. And I came before the board and appeared before you, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and one of the other members, to ask if we could get the age restriction removed.
Correct.
And we had the age restriction, the board was kind enough to grant that. The exchange, of course, was that the homeowners association needed to take over Remington Court and change it from what had been originally indicated as a dedicated public road to now convert it back to a private road. And in addition to that, the homeowners association was to assume responsibility for maintaining 3 detention basins on the site, plus the other detention basin, which is actually on township property. That township property being on 17-plus acres that was given by the original developer when this was originally presented as a McMansion development.
Correct.
This was supposed to be a single-family development of McMansions back in 2004 and 5, I think it was approved. And that's recited in both of the letters pretty much from both your engineer and your planner. By the time they had that approved and by the time they got all their things together to move forward, it was 2006, and as you may remember, 2006 was the beginning of the Great Recession. So that went out the window. The Resnicks and Gary Schecker, who were the parties involved at that time, reformed. They came back to the board and eventually worked through to get an approval for 28 townhomes.
Correct.
Their concept was that the townhomes were going to be like 3,400 square feet. I mean, if you think about it, that's an incredibly large townhome. That's, in fact, a fairly large home. Most of the homes around the golf course today, which I think are very attractive homes and nicely done and so forth, I think they're in the mid-twos. So a 3,400 square foot house is just exceeded whatever market ever existed to begin with. So when Mr. Chung took over and the townhomes at Eagle Oaks took over, we came in and realized that's way too big. We got to shrink it down, and we thought that bringing it down to 28 to 3,200, which is still a lot, would work. That's still too large. The market that townhomes at Eagle Oaks is seeking is the empty nesters. Their kids are leaving for or left for college or have left, hopefully. And they want to reduce their maintenance responsibilities. They want to be able to lock and go. They want to have a nice home in a nice area, but they don't want to have to worry about all the maintenance responsibilities anymore. And they don't need all that room. And so we're looking for the mature families where the kids are hopefully ending high school and moving on or already have moved on. And we're finding that they just don't want that much space. They don't need it. If we can give them somewhere between 1,900 and 2,300 square feet, they're more than happy. And in fact, the townhomes that we're proposing, as we'll explain to you tonight, in addition, have full basements. The basements will have mechanicals and they'll have storage in them. But beyond that, there's about 600 to 700 square feet of basement that can be finished. So again, the houses, even with a substantial reduction in size, are more than adequate for the needs of the market that we're certainly seeking. We're not seeking the Colt Neck, $5 million mansion with 20 acres around it. It's had a troubled history. I sent a letter to the board in the summer, of course, pleading to let us move forward sooner than we have at this point because Mr. Chung has basically supported this project off of the earnings of his primary business. He is not a developer. He didn't intend to be a developer. He got involved in this project basically as an investor, learned that his partners in the project were not giving him fair reporting or fair dealing, and decided that he needed to take control of it to protect his investment. At this point, he has about $6 million or better invested to this date, and he's paid over $250,000 in taxes just to carry the property at this point. That doesn't have anything to do with land use, but I mean, it's been a struggle, and he's survived, and he's determined to see this project to a nice conclusion. In order to do that, it's important that we be able to add the 6 more units that we're seeking. Although we're not looking to expand the coverage, we're not looking to build another building, we're going to adjust the size of the buildings somewhat, and the engineer will certainly address all that, so that we can basically slip a unit in because we've shrunk the size, we can slip another unit in, and by doing that, the project becomes not only more financially viable so that he can complete it, and complete it as a upscale, luxury-oriented development as opposed to a price-sensitive townhouse development, which is, as cheap as you can go and build it, put it up, and sell it for price. He wants to complete it as a townhouse development, which is compatible with the Eagle Oaks Country Club. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with it, have had an occasion to be there on one or more occasions. Mr. Gatto has done an incredible job developing his site. I believe. I think it's beautiful, it's well done, and we're trying to we will be tied into it in the sense that our residents are going to have an opportunity to become members there, and we're subsidizing that membership, not for golf, but for the social membership and the sports membership. So they'll have full use of the pool, and they'll have full use of the other facilities. And if they want to upgrade to a golf membership, they certainly can. And that's an arrangement that's been worked out with Eagle Oaks and with Don McGatto. So we want this to be the kind of development which is going to fit well with his operation. But to do that, we need to be able to regain some of the investment that's in there. The 6 units will help. There's a second reason as well, and that is based on the agreement that we made with the town last time, where we took back Remington Court. In other words, we agreed it would be vacated, and that has happened. That has occurred. It's one of the comments in the letter, and we'll get to it again later. But we have, in fact, worked with the town. It's been vacated, and it now belongs back to the condominium association. We have 28 units to support Remington Court, all of the side parking and the side roadways that lead to the garages, all of the lawn maintenance, 4 detention basins, and there are no amenities on site. So we're looking at a budget at about $500 a unit, in addition to $1,800 a unit in taxes, roughly. That's a lot of money before you get to pay for your mortgage, insurance, electric, and everything else. If we can add 6 more units, we can bring that maintenance fee down from $500 to just above $300. That's a big difference, I think, in trying to sell the units for a proper price and for not scaring people away, quite frankly. There are too many other places where they have a lesser maintenance fee and they have more amenities, quite frankly. So this is the object of why we're asking the board to please consider allowing us to have 6 more units.
Well, I'm not going to put you on the spot as far as a testimony, but I know there's an existing unit built. Now, is that going to be expanded to what you're proposing here tonight, or is that going to stay?
That's going to stay. The engineer, of course, John Vincenti, will explain what we are doing and how we're doing it. What is occurring is Remington Court, if you go into Remington Court, the way this has been approved is there are 3 buildings to the left, and there are 6 buildings to the right.
Correct.
The 3 buildings to the left are going to remain as intended. So you're going to have a 3-unit, a 3-unit, and a 4-unit. That's what was approved before. We're not changing them. We are making building 2 and 3 units smaller.
Now, is that the footprint going to come down 2 and 3?
Yes, the footprint is going to shrink on buildings 2 and 3. Building 1 is already finished. The model home is finished.
Right.
The other end unit is finished. We're waiting to get a CO on that. We have a couple of compliance issues that we're working through with Tom Savino on. As soon as that clears, We expect to be able to get a TCO. We're going to sell that unit. We have someone interested in the model unit as well. We're looking for a buyer for the third, and we want to get going with buildings.
But those
2
were
and 3.
built as spec from the...
They were just built
From
like
the
they were-
original.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is, well, they were built as we had it amended from the original.
Correct, that's what I'm saying. They were built, from the, I don't count the first one.
Right, okay.
I'm counting whenever y'all come back to have this, do the age restrict, get rid of that, and then the approvals from the board at that moment, that's how they were built.
That is correct.
Okay.
After the 2015 approval, they were
Okay.
built from. That is correct.
Okay,
All right. I've talked enough. If I can, I'd like to introduce our engineer, John Vincenti. and
how many witnesses do you have?
I have Mr. Vincenti, and I have Christine Capone.
Why don't we swear everybody in that's going to
Sure.
testify, and then we'll move from there.
Raise your right hand. Swear the testimony you'll give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Sir, starting with you in the foreground, may we have your name, spell your last name.
John Vincenti, V-I-N-C-E-N-T-I.
Thank you.
Christine Nazaro, N-A-Z-Z-A-R-O, Cofone, C-O-F as in Frank, O-N-E. Business address is 125 Half Mountain Road, 600.
Very good, all sworn, thank you.
John?
Your credentials on the record, please?
Sure, my name is John Vincenti. I'm associated with FWH Associates. I'm a licensed civil engineer, licensed in the state of New Jersey. I'm also a professional planner. I'm also a certified municipal engineer. I've been licensed since 1984.
Education?
I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, Bachelor of Science.
From what college?
Rutgers University.
Rutgers? Okay.
Yes.
We accept your credentials.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As Bob indicated, the project is located on the south side of Cranberry Road, located just west of Asbury Avenue. The project adjoins Eagle Oaks Golf Club. It's in the ARE3 zone. We're dealing with approximately 8.44 acres of the site. As Mr. McGowan indicated, Remington Court is in. I think what I'd like to do is introduce a number of exhibits.
Okay. Our secretary will come down and mark them in.
You
to
want
have
to
a-
mark them all now.
Sure,
Your next number is A10, and would you like the handheld?
sure.
Oh, sorry. No, wrong one.
This one is not?
No, it's this one here. It says off, but that's also on.
Gotcha. I'll leave it to the expert to get it going.
Jennifer,
Here you go.
Jen.
It's already on, but you have to...
that kind of blew what I asked you to do before.
That's all right, we put it in the history, that's fine.
Exactly. Hey, I'm just touching base with you on that.
I figured.
Okay,
That was pretty clean.
So John, you want to start? Want to start with A10, please?
sure. A10 is a colored rendering of the landscape plan, and that is sheet number 8 of 15. A11 is an aerial exhibit map that shows the property and the surrounding area. A12 is a architectural rendering of buildings 4 through 9. Shows the front elevation, the rear elevation, and the 2 side elevations. And then one more, 10, 11, 12, 13. A13 is another rendered, colored rendering of the landscape plan, and this is from the original site plan that was approved. And we're going to use that to compare and contrast the 2 overall site plans.
Okay. And before you get real heavy into your testimony, I just want to note that I did speak with Ms. Shapiro, and she had stated she had spoken with you as far as what her comments and things were, and that was worked out?
Yes.
Okay,
She issued a letter to the board. We've agreed
Yes,
to make
correct.
those modifications. We've in fact made some modifications. We've got two other minor details. She issued another last week.
correct.
And Ms. Shapiro is the tree expert from CME, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
I have my house on.
That's why she is not here tonight. She had asked, if she needed to be, but she was very comfortable with all of her questions being addressed, so.
Thank you. We thank her. You don't want to stand up?
So on the screen is A10. That's the colored rendering. And by way of orientation, on the right-hand side is, might get my notes. On the right-hand side is Cranberry Road. Remington Court runs north-south, right to left in the center of the exhibit. It's a cul-de-sac all the way down at the left end or the southerly side. The way the townhouses are situated are running across the bottom are buildings 1, 2, 3. Starting on the right is building 1 and 2, 3. They have access off of what's designated as Drive A. That's the easterly side of the property. The westerly side of the property, we've got Drive B running, and then Building 4 starting closer to Cranberry on the right, upper right-hand corner, all the way down to Building number 9. So the project, as Mr. McGowan had indicated, is currently approved for 28 townhomes. Each of the 28 townhomes will have was approved with a two-car garage, two-car driveway with 20 visitor parking spaces. The visitor parking spaces are 2 along Drive A and 3 along Drive B. The original layout consists of 9 buildings, originally 8 3-unit buildings and 1 4-unit building. And the cul-de-sac is known as Remington Court. There are, again, drives A and B, which are parallel to Remington Court, which kind of loop through the development, providing access directly to the homes with driveways. Our proposal is to amend the site plan to increase the number of homes from 28 to 34. The way we're going to do that is buildings 1, 2, and 3 on the easterly side. The configuration is not going to change. Building 1 is 3 units, that's constructed now. Building 2 is 3 units, and Building 3 is 4 units, unchanged. Where the change takes place is on Buildings 4 through 9. Those were all previously shown as 3-unit buildings. We're proposing that they all increase to 4 units each. There are 6 buildings, 1 additional, that brings us up to the 34 units. Now, the exhibit and the plans that have been reviewed by the board's professionals show a configuration of the outside units as 2-car garages, double driveways, and single-car garage, single driveway. To address the comments of the board's professionals, and also I think a comment from the police department, what we are going to do is change all of those buildings to all have 2-car garage units and 2-car driveways. And the architectural plans handed out to the board in A13 show that configuration. You can see on the front elevation,
Yes.
which is on the top of that board, all those homes have double-car garages. So what we need to do is modify the site plan. Now, the width of that building and the depth of the building is the same that we're basically showing on the site plan.
But with the original site plan or the new site plan?
The current site
The
plan,
new site plan.
new site plan.
Okay, now, is the width any wider than the original?
So the yes, the original, building width was approximately 95 to 100 feet with, there were some covered porches. What we're doing is increasing the width to 115 feet and 8 inches total.
So you are increasing the footprint?
We are increasing the width, but the depth is decreasing.
Yeah, but if you increase the width, then you're increasing the footprint,
The,
the house
We're
footprint.
changing the footprint.
But we're changing the footprint, we're not increasing the overall area, but yes, we're increasing the width.
So, John, just to clarify, so the plans you submitted in February 2018, right, or end of 2017, you showed each building having two two-car garages and then two one-car garages, and now the architectural you're showing us, each building has 4 two-car garages?
Yes.
Now, is the width of that greater than what was shown on the plans in 2018?
No, it's the same.
It's the same width, there's no
115
change in the
feet, 8
footprint
inches.
at all?
Correct.
Okay.
No change in the width.
But it is wider than what was shown in 2015.
Yes.
Yes, okay. But it is shorter. In the depth of it, the unit has contracted.
I have to tell you, I have no idea what you're talking about. And once again, I'm sitting here, and these plans have been on file for months and months and months and months, and you're making changes at the meeting that should have been done in advance and submitted so that we could actually look at them. Like, this is not something that you submitted 10 days ago and we rushed to get a letter out. My letter is dated July. And here we are, and you're modifying things on the fly, and then they're going to be expected to vote on it? I have no idea what the impact of that is. I don't understand why you guys cannot, and not just you, but applicants in general, why can't they make their changes before they come here? Like, there's no excuse for this. These plans have been sitting around for months. So you're expecting us to now figure out 102.5, 115, like, come on. You didn't even bring an exhibit to show it?
I handed them out to the board. just
So
now.
this is the revised exhibit?
No.
No, there's
no,
no-
That's my point.
There are footprints that we gave
The architectural plan.
the architectural plans. Your point is well taken. I mean, sure.
I mean, this application has been before this board now, this is what, the 5th or 6th time since 2004? And every time there's a reason for it and what have you, and I get it, there's market concerns and whatnot, but, you know, you're expecting us, meaning Charlie and myself, to sit here and advise the board on plans we don't have based on information that you should have provided to us in advance of this hearing. I mean, it's becoming a pattern. Every single time we're here, people are making these, they're redesigning on the fly. And it's getting to the point where it's very difficult for me to advise you on what exactly you're approving or not approving when I have no idea.
I understand that. But I also, from the approval in 2015, the building, if you look at the buildings, it looks like these buildings, the footprint has changed. And the footprint is larger. I know it's wider, but it looks like about the same width also.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yeah, so the size has changed, the footprint, total footprint's changed, and then also the spacing in between the units has decreased. I think we noted that in the letter, it was
I know.
60 to 80 feet, now it's 35 to 55 feet, so yeah, the units are bigger and the spacing is smaller in between.
If I can address the board for a moment, I mean, Jennifer is legitimate, obviously, in what she's saying. You know, unfortunately, again, we've been trying to evolve and figure out how to make this project work, and that's not your problem or her problem. I mean, you have a right to see what you're approving and have it very clearly reviewed by your professionals. If I could suggest, however, could we somehow bifurcate what we're talking about tonight, at least for purposes of presentation, to get a sense from the board as to whether, if we can come up with the size of a unit which has at least 32-foot spacing between buildings, gives us the backyard that we need gives us the parking that that you would like to see. I mean, we already exceed the parking, all the review letters acknowledge that and so forth, but in addition to that, we're way beyond all the parking standards, and that's fine, because we know how these developments work. You almost never have enough parking. But can we at least address, to get a feel from the board, as to whether getting 6 more units, providing that they are acceptable in design and in coverage and so forth, whether that's something that is worth going back, redesigning, and then coming back to this board to talk about?
Mr. Tropoli?
I've seen the board bifurcate when there are issues potentially with a site plan, but my question, and I'm going to defer to the professionals on our side here, I mean, how can an applicant's planner offer testimony when the site plan is not before this board? I mean, the issues here are site-specific. I'll ask Jen, but I mean, like, if the applicant wants to proceed that way, fine, but what is the planner going to testify about? I mean, we have issues with width, we have issues with a larger footprint. Again, I'm not trying to take anyone's ability to present the case fairly, but the board needs to hear it fairly as well. And,
Sure.
And I have a concern with that, and I just don't know how a planner could possibly testify when the site plan is, let's say, not specifically fixed at this point.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chairman, and following up what Ron said, it's very difficult for the board to make a decision when they're asking for building coverage variances and also lot coverage variances, and we're talking about switching the footprint of the building from what was previously provided. It just very tough to nail that down, and for us to give a professional opinion on something on the fly where we're asking to make calculations and haven't really had a chance to review it and vet it.
I have to kind of agree with my professionals here. I know the board is kind of tough.
I don't know what we're reviewing.
Well, see what it is, if you look at the spaces in between, but this is not accurate. Because the garages are going to change.
Things are gonna
Change the whole,
Yeah.
everything. Let's take a
Take a few-minute break?
few-minute break here.
Yeah.
And, you speak with the professionals, let's see what we can do here. The board's gonna take a 10-minute break.
The board will now reconvene.
Yeah. I know, well, yeah. No, I know. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we've had a chance to conference with the professionals and yourself. We certainly respect the comments, and we realize that they're appropriate. The plans that we submitted was what we intended in the summer. Since then, we've continued to work on it, and unfortunately, we only settled on plans in the last few weeks. And it's right, it's not fair to the board members to have you try to figure out what we're talking about versus what you have in plans. So we would appreciate an opportunity to have this matter continued, during which we will prepare appropriate plans that match exactly what we're doing. We'll resubmit them to the board, give the professionals a chance to digest them and comment on them, and we would appreciate a chance to come back.
Yes, sir. Ron, do we need to put any of the administrative stuff on record, or no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's our next possible date.
So I thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm sorry we
Yep.
weren't able to.
Let's talk about a date on the record if we could.
That'd be great.
The very earliest date is May 13th. But then April 1st is Monday, and if your engineer is going to take 2 weeks, then 10 days for board review, you're pretty much,
We
Almost
can't do
in.
it April 1st.
no,
There's-
May
No,
13th.
May 13th.
Oh, May,
If I
okay.
misspoke, May 13th.
We're
May
talking
13th.
April is next week.
Yeah.
April 1st is Monday, and
Right, I know.
you're talking 3.5 weeks, so we can move some cases and bring you on May 13th.
We'll be here. Absolutely.
7:30,
That would
without
be
further
wonderful.
public notice, Mr. Chair?
Okay, sir.
With an
I also
understanding
need
that,
an extension of time.
right, with an understanding that the professionals will receive the revised site plans.
Yeah, within
timely.
10 days of the meeting, please.
Before,
Before
yes.
that.
That way we can get comments and, you know, feel free, if you get done with some of your plans before, send them over there, get their comments
They
before.
have to come through me.
Yeah, send them to Eileen, and then, you know, let them comment on them, you know, and let's make changes if we need to before you come back next time. That way, you know, whenever we sit down, we can go through step by step right through it.
Agreed.
Okay.
Definitely, thank you.
Okay, Kate,
Wait, can you grant the board an extension of time on the record
Absolutely.
through the end of May?
The board is granted an extension of time through the end of May.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, case number BA 181017 SPA2, Townhomes at Eagle Oak LLC will be carried to May 13th, 7:30 PM with no further notice. Extension of time was granted through the end of May.
Into April. Oh, no,
Into May.
I'm sorry,
Into May.
that's right, into May.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, professionals, any further from the board? Board, any further business? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion by Mr. Moretti, seconded by Mr. Hughes. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Zoning board adjourned, 8:20. Wow.
Frank Clerk.